Okay, here's a little video on making uh, different types of gradients. Um, I just went on the internet and found a couple of images of gradients we can work on, or like a sphere or ball. This first one I'm going to do would be a red one. A good place to start with your gradients, as opposed to just clicking on the gradient tool and clicking on this right here, is what's annoying about that is when you go to change the color, then it takes you to black only. Then you have to go to options and change it to CMYK before you can manipulate those colors. And I'm not a big fan of those extra steps required. And what I recommend is going down to the swatch libraries and start with a gradient and just pick one of these. I like jewel tones for let's see if we can find that, gems and jewels. There we go. And it opens up a little palette of gems, and since we're doing the red one, we'll go ahead and click that one. But it won't give you the actual colors that you're looking for, so what we're going to do is try to match up this little ball here as close as possible. And the first thing we're going to do is go under, make it a radial gradient, and the way I get the realistic colors in there is I draw a few swatches that I can use my color picker on to get those colors. So I'm going to start with the darkest one down here on the bottom. Select the next one and pick about this medium tone here. Press the letter V, select the next one, press the letter I, get my eyedropper, and then maybe this medium tone in here. And then finally the little highlight. Now I'll go back and select this, and the last color that you select stays down here, so we can just take that one and drag it down. I'm going to replace this color here, but sometimes it doesn't drag. I don't know if I'm just not holding the mouse good enough. There we go. I'm going to delete this color. I'm going to slide this over, and then I'm going to select this swatch and then go back to my gradient, and that puts that color right here, and click and drag it down. Get rid of the other one. I'm going to select my next color, go back to my image, drag that color down, select the darkest color, go back to the image and drag that color down. Now notice it's not just pure black, it's black with some cyan and magenta and yellow in it. I tell you what, I think I'm going to use one more color swatch. And get this color right in here just so I get a good realistic gradient. Because it gets a little bit lighter right in here. Okay, see it's less than the black. And I'll go back to the gradient and drag that color down on the other side of that dark. I must have missed it. There we go, and that gives us that little bit of that reflective highlight right there. There's actually a little bit lighter version up top here, so I'm going to just take this color, hold down my option key, and click and drag it over. Alright, now once that's drawn, you notice that the highlights here and the shadows right about here. So I'm going to go to my gradient tool, and it gives me the option to click and drag in this area, and that way we control where the gradient goes. And then that's editable once you get it in there. And you can actually individually move these colors around. I think I want to move this point down some if I can. Alright, and I want to bring this color up. Actually, I'm going to bring that lighter tone down and make more of a finer highlight spot there. Alright, and notice how it's not perfect as far as the top of this edge being reddish. There's other ways we can work on that, but that gives you a fairly realistic color gradient there. There's another way we can do that using the gradient mesh tool, which is this guy right here. And it's always good to start with a color that's going to be around the edges the most. So I'm going to just select this area in here, use the gradient mesh tool, and about where the highlight is here, I'm going to click here with that, and then I can use the color picker and select that color, and I'm going to go back to the gradient mesh tool, and I'm going to put maybe a point in here, and I'm going to use this color in here. Go back to the gradient mesh tool. You got to go back each time to add another one of these little points in. Alright, that looks pretty good. This over here is a little off. Maybe click one in here and use the color picker here. And I'm going to go in and add the points for the darkest parts. Alright, now once you get some of those points in there, you can go back with your direct selection tool and you can move these things around until you get that gradient looking the way you want it. The lighter parts here go down this way, so I'm just dragging everything around. And I think I want another darker. I think I'll make this one dark too. So while it's selected, I use the color picker tool to go back, select that color in there. And it gives you these little handlebars for the curve so you can adjust things out this way in the same way as drawing with the pen tool. And it's not perfect, but you get the idea of what you can practice with. But it's a good place to start with the swatch libraries and the gradients. There's all different kinds, earth tones, and so experiment with those, play with them, and have fun.